Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Newcastle podcast, proud to be part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Iain Mackay. I am unexpectedly hosting tonight, and I'm joined, again unexpectedly, by Michael Grahamslaw. Hello, Michael. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I swear I said yesterday they wouldn't see me and you for a little while, but I lied.
You did. He's
I'm doing
such
well.
a fibber. Couldn't lie straight in bed. But we have got one of the OG bookings for tonight. The Ginger Ninja herself. Joanne, how are you? And how was your ginger ninjering?
I was going to say I'm fresh from ninja class, as you might be able to tell from a very pink face, because I haven't had time to have a shower, so thank God you can't smell me right now. Smell-o-vision is not a thing, thank God.
Smell of it, yeah, but Zencastr is so forward-thinking, they will be introducing Smell-o-vision very soon.
Oh, wonderful.
Let's not give them any ideas.
It'll follow on from interviewing the substituted players as they come off the field, talking to the managers at half-time. Smell-o-vision, that'll be next. That's not what the podcast is about tonight.
No.
I've kind of controversially, sort of, because let's be honest, we've spent 2 months bemoaning how frustrating our transfer window has been, seemingly rejected by more people than children's birthday parties have rejected Jimmy Savile.
I was wondering where you were going to go in. You never disappoint.
They rejected him, so it was all right. Yeah. And it has been very, very frustrating. However, I'm asking, with 3 weeks to go, can we end up having a fantastic transfer window? We've already covered, obviously, the brilliant Anthony Elanga coming in to replace Miggy Almiron.
Yep.
And Aaron Ramsdale coming on looking every inch. Arsenal's number one, or the England goalkeeper, replacing Martin Dubravka. Mm-hmm. And we're excitedly waiting with breath that is bated for Malik Chow to come in and replace Lloyd Kelly. And Yoann, I can't remember what his first name's called, Yoann Wissa, to come from Brentford and replace Callum Wilson. Not Cameron Wilson, who was his lesser-known brother that I mentioned last
night. Had a cameo yesterday.
Yes. So, I think that's 4 massive step-ups we've got in terms of the quality of the squad. Part 1, the only missing person, if you like, from the squad that we went through last year with is caused by the sale of Sean Longstaff. And yes. I think, although there's not a lot of talk yet, I think we need to recruit a midfield player urgently in order to plug that shortcoming. Joe Willock's injured, of course, apparently 4 to 6 weeks. But as I have made reference to before, 4 to 6 week injury for Joe Willock is generally 4 to 6 week injuries, and we'll see him sometime in March. So we've got 4 fit midfielders, 4 very good fit midfielders, but certainly not enough to go even into a Premier League season. I think we might need 2 midfielders, but we'll talk about that in part 2. I'll shut up now. Do you agree? We need a Sean Longstaff replacement, and then we've actually got 5 super step-ups in terms of quality within the squad. And Joanne, who have you got your eye on to come and bolster the midfield?
Yeah, I'd mentioned it in a previous pod, and again, just trying to think realistically. I'd mentioned Conor Gallagher because there was talk of him coming. I think he's someone that could fit into our squad, and again, it's someone that could come in and not be an immediate expectation on starting every game as well, if you know what I mean. So he'd be happy to kind of fit in the system, and I mean, I'm assuming that. And obviously, I know so much about Conor that I've been on the phone, obviously, and he told me he's absolutely fine with his system. But like you say, I mean, we've got the Premier League campaign, we've got the Champions League campaign, which we'll hope to do something decent in. Then you've got the Cubs. You hope you have a decent run at that. All of a sudden, you're talking about a hell of a lot of games that we need that kind of depth. So yeah, the Conor Gallagher one was the one I brought up. It didn't go down too well because I think I brought it down on a pod with Kevin Nick. I think they were kind of on the fence about him. And I'm not saying I love him. I'm just trying to think of someone that will have had minor little links with, who could be a realistic signing. So yeah, I'd go Conor.
I quite like Conor Gallagher, although um, I want to ask Michael what he thinks of Conor Gallagher, and I'm suspecting Michael, like me, might think that because of the way Miley is shaping up, he's far more suited to be covering that holding midfield player. And what I think we're really short of is someone who can unpick the lock, if you like, on a low block, is a number 10 almost. Um, but I like Conor Gallagher because I think he's so good at winning the ball back, at disrupting the opposition when they've won the ball and they're trying to break out. He is very, very good. And of course, that sort of breakdown, that chaos is where we seem to thrive when we can recover in
Yeah.
their final third, and the pace that we have. I think I mean Conor Gallagher is a very good player. I remember when he was brilliant at Palace, and then he was taken back by Chelsea, and he was the best player of that season, and then they sold him
Yeah.
unexpectedly. Although I guess that's their model, to sell their academy players and to make the profits. That's why they can buy as many players as they do. Michael, what do you think of Conor Gallagher? Is he an option, do you think?
Yeah, I think he's a great option. It's one of those where, first of all, Atletico Madrid, they would be willing to sell because he's technically a non-EU player, with Britain not being an EU country technically, and they also have a limited number of spaces for that. So that's why he's been so heavily rumoured with leaving the club as we speak. One of the things about Gallagher is I view him more as the rotational for Joe Linton. And we
Mm.
say, oh, it's so hard to replace Joe Linton. But what are the two things that Joe Linton does best? It's breaking up play as that box-to-box midfielder, making runs from midfield, and getting on the end of the ball for a cross. Now, don't be wrong, we saw against Atletico Madrid, more often that doesn't end in a goal. But when you look at the stats of Conor Gallagher, he's in the top 15% for goals that aren't penalties from midfielders. He doesn't create a lot at all. I think he's in the bottom 20% in regards to midfielders who create, but then he's in the top 30% in regards to tackles, interceptions, blocks, the lot. So it's one of those, you're looking for a box-to-box, you're looking for that Joe Linton replacement, your Joe Willock replacement as well, realistically, because we'd probably look to sell him if he was fit. I think Conor Gallagher's a great shout. The player that we've been linked with today is Bilal El Khanous from Leicester City. That's popped up today. 20 to 29 million. I've seen both linked. Attacking midfielder, a number 10, which does make me wonder, is it really something we're looking at? Because we don't play with a number 10 at all. Whether it's we play with the 5 at the back or the 4 at the back, it doesn't make a difference. We don't play with the 10. But it could be something different, and he is a very good young creative player. So if you're looking at two centre midfielders right there, you've got your box-to-box and your attacking midfielder. And as you mentioned earlier, Lewis Miley, he's turning into a brilliant little replacement. Well, maybe not replacement, but substitute for Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes.
We've kind of dived into a second midfielder there, which I was going to keep for till part two, but that's all right because you picked two good names there. The one that excites me most, although when we were talking about it earlier in the week, Michael, that we were quoting 30 million you would be available for. I've seen today that's already up at 50 million. But
Yes.
Lucas Paqueta, I
Yeah.
think, because 50 million is still a lot less than West Ham paid for him, I think. Certainly a lot less than Manchester City were considering paying for him 24 months ago or 12 months ago.
Something like
Can't
that.
remember when that was. And he is very hardworking and great defensively, as well as being a fantastic number 10. So, what do you think of Paqueta? And what do you think of El Khanous, Joanne? I haven't asked your opinion on him.
Well, Michael, nail on the head. I was going to bring up El Khanous as well, yeah. So that would be an interesting one. I'm not going to lie and say I know a lot about him, but is he 21? Again,
Just
it's
young,
a
yeah.
decent price, so it's not going to break the budget. You know what I mean? It's building up the squad, which is exactly what we're talking about. So it could be perfect for that kind of role. And again, a player that will come in and not kind of demand to be the number one in that position, sort of thing. How he can fit if we don't play him as a direct number 10, I don't know. Can he adjust? This is where I don't know enough about him. If he can kind of sit in other positions, so to speak. But if he can, fantastic. If he can't, like Michael said, we can kind of switch things up and actually change our formation for a change, because that was something that we pretty much cried out for a lot, didn't we, during the season? But so yeah, I mean, based on that alone, I'd be happy with it. Yeah.
Michael, technically, how many loan players are we allowed to have?
I believe it's 3. I might be wrong. I haven't looked into it, but I believe it's 3.
I thought it was 3.
Long term.
I thought it was 3. We've got a goalkeeper on loan, obviously, but that means there's 2 loan options as well. As we don't necessarily have to find cash this summer if we have a loan with an option to buy. Do you think that? I mean, if they're looking to offload Gallagher because they want to bring some other non-EU players in, maybe a loan with an option to buy would be a good move. And also, if West Ham for some reason wants Paqueta out because he's soured the atmosphere with his totally unproven allegations against him, God knows how he got off that. But maybe either of those could be available on loan.
Yeah. Okay. So I've just looked it up there. You're only allowed 2 registered at any one point, but you're allowed 4 over the course of a season. So let's say we wanted to loan someone else in January. We loan someone in August. Let's say we loan John McGinnon in 2 weeks' time. If we want to loan another player, we'd either have to cut the loan of John McGinn or Ramsdale to register the other player. So 2 at any one time, 4 over a season. Yeah, or buy him.
Or buy him. Excellent. Interesting loan developments. And talking about no, I'm not going to be. I can't get away with a link as slick as the one Michael used to go into advert number 1 last night.
You can.
Although I did try. Anyway, here's Ken.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
These solutions we're discussing aren't off the shelf. They are just what's going to be right for Newcastle. And moving on part 2 into additional signings, which possibly aren't on the definitely needed list, but I would be much happier with them. And that is to provide some cover for a second midfielder, which I'll continue with because I've got 1 or 2 other names we haven't mentioned yet. And then after that, we'll look at maybe cover for centre-back position, because I'm not totally confident about either Botman and or Lascelles bearing up through a 60-game season. So if it's a loan or a cheap purchase for a covering midfield player, 2 names, you just mentioned one there, they seem very, very cheap. They seem to have loads and loads of experience, Champions League experience as well. Why is Douglas Louise finding it so difficult to find a new home, Michael?
I think it's one of those where since he's gone to Juventus, his wages are a lot higher than many expect them to be. I believe he doubled them from what he was at Aston Villa, and the fact of they're still going to command a fee. Juventus aren't in a position where they can say, "Oh, we'll take a £30 million loss for Louise." So it started off being a rumour of 20 million, I believe, for Louise. Then it went up to 30. Now it's like 35. No doubt if we go in, it'll be 50. I do like him, but I think it's one of those where Juventus really overrated his ability. They overpaid for him. They're overpaying him every week. And they did the nice deed of bringing in Alicia Lehmann alongside. I mean, she's definitely done better for them than what he has. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, it's one of those where I definitely think he's maybe deemed as a bit more of a troublemaker on too much wages. Maybe, just maybe, it's something that Newcastle and other clubs have looked at and gone, you know what, there's better options out there for a lot less money.
Too many headaches. Did you think of Louise the same way, Joanne? I used to rate him when he was at I mean, he was the main
Gallagher
man
was
in
good.
midfield for me when he was at Villa.
Oh, he's not a bad player at all, but I was going to mention the wages side of things because I think there's just some people that would just won't touch with a barge pole because of the wages.
Right.
There's been many players linked to us. I think strange enough, talking about the wages thing, I think the whole Grealish to Everton thing is interesting. I don't know what kind of percentage Everton are covering because I know Grealish is on like ridiculous, something like 300 grand a week or something at City.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see kind of what percentage or whatever that they're covering of that, because surely Everton aren't going to be paying 300 grand a week to Grealish. But again, it's things like that, isn't it? Because Grealish was linked to us. Well, everyone's been linked to us, but you know what I mean? Grealish was, and straight everyone kind of shoo-shooed it, didn't they, because of the wages. And Louise, I guess, is just another one of those players. But in terms of the trouble side of things, again, nail on the head with that one, because Howe's not going to want a player like that. He's not going to want that kind of disruptive or someone that he thinks he can't knock that out of, so to speak. I think you saw Gordon, for example. Gordon's a good one for me. Little bit of a rogue, wasn't he? Came in, I'm not going to lie again, I didn't like him when we first bought him. He had a bit of an attitude. He kicked up a stink that time against him, but Howe kind of has changed him, and he admits he's changed, you know what I mean? So maybe that's a project Howe could get his teeth into. Maybe Louise is not. Simple as that.
Fair dues. The age thing would make it worthwhile putting the time in with Gordon, whereas the Leopard may not be able to change his spots for Louise if he's troublemaker. I'd not heard he was a troublemaker, but if he's expensive, then that's one reason for him not to be a backup midfielder.
Yeah,
but what about my
sort of
suggestion?
Just on Louise there, sorry.
Yeah.
He's had some issues with just putting rants out on Instagram and stuff like that of situations where he doesn't agree with something and he just posts straight on his social media without really thinking. You can tell his PR company have been sacked or some. I don't know that for sure, but it certainly looks that way. So. I think that's one of the things that's happened recently over the last 6 months. So I think the attitudes come from that, really. Other than that, I hadn't heard too much either. I thought he was a great player, but it seems like those sour grapes have started to develop at Juventus, and it's a shame. Hopefully the same doesn't happen to Lloyd Kelly.
Yeah. Well, I heard Sunderland today, by the way, are considering a bid for Lloyd Kelly.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be the best centre-back.
I read that.
True.
I read that.
True.
I think I read that on the BBC website. Anyway, we'll see if that. No doubt we'll be chuckling up our sleeves later in the week if that transpires to be true. What do you think about my concern? Am I right to be concerned, or am I trying to feed a pig strawberries by thinking we need an extra centre back alongside? An extra centre back alongside. Have you not?
No.
Over egging the pudding, I suppose. Because you can feed a pig anything, but why would you feed it strawberries? Is that what I'm doing? When we've already got Byrne and Shah and Botman and Lascelles, Kraft to cover if we need to, Alex Murphy, etc.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those. I understand the worry because we've been Newcastle fans long enough to know that Sven Botman gets injured pretty much for 30 out of 38 games at a minimum. Same with Jamal Lascelles. If Malik Chow comes in and gets a bad injury straight away, we're all of a sudden sitting there and going, yeah, we're in trouble here. But what I will say is Emil Kraft has been absolutely fantastic since coming in. Dan Burns also there as well. Ideally, I would rather have him as left back cover. I'd rather bring in a left back so Byrne can purely be centre back, should I say. I'd rather bring in left back cover instead of Matt Targett, because again, crocked and he's not played well at all over pre-season. So I'd rather do that personally. But I think at the same time, bringing in a left back who could play centre back, like Chelsea just have with Jorel Hato, it's one of those where you could cover both positions with someone who's not great at either, but is definitely sufficient enough that they can cover both. And I think I do agree something is needed, because if we have a season like we did 2 years ago, we're going to be top of that injury list again. And I don't know if the squad's actually stronger than what it was then, because we've lost probably the only player you would call Mr. Reliable when it comes to injuries in Sean Longstaff.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Have you have you followed Man City putting a 10 million price on uh, Doyle? Is it Callum Doyle, the one who's centre half for the England under 21s?
I hadn't seen that.
Apparently,
No, I didn't know.
apparently they've set a fee of 10 million when Norwich inquired about him. I think
Nice.
that's. I mean, I don't suppose we'd get offered 10 million. They'd probably have. They might have 15 off us. I think
Double.
that's a good bet.
Yeah, I mean, for an England under 21 centre back, 20 million even seems like a steal. I haven't seen him enough personally to say otherwise, but he looks decent at under 21's level. I'd certainly have an England under 21 international at 10 million. I mean, if Lewis Hall's just an under 21 international when we sign him,
Yeah.
then why not? But I will say with Callum Doyle, he has played for Sunderland. So the town is a little bit toxic.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, I get that. But
joke.
it was just a kid, wasn't he?
Yeah,
And
didn't know
let's
what he
be
was doing.
honest, Chris Rigg is still playing for them, and we know he bleeds black and white, so he'll be coming to us at some point. So there is that possibility to cross over if you catch them young enough. It's only later on that it becomes very difficult. Okay, right. Well, on that, we've saved till part 3 the big discussion on the Alexander Izak replacement.
Yay! Izak again.
But I was going to ask Joanne to read us. I'm going to ask Joanne to read us the Zencastr advert before we get into that.
Brilliant. Here at the Global Sport Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Thank you very much, Joanne. So, yeah, I mentioned or am I, for an Izak replacement, because as time ticks on, I'm feeling increasingly that it's less and less likely that we're going to need to replace Izak. I don't know if he's going to play or if he does when he's integrated and he starts playing for us again. But I do think that we might dig our heels in just to let everybody know that we can't be pushed around either by our players or by Liverpool. And we just say, no, you are not going to Liverpool at this point. We've got 3 years on your contract. I mean, I'd love them to do something like talk to their mates and do a mutual loan deal so we get Ivan Toney in and make Izak go and play in Saudi for a year. That would be fun. Wouldn't that not be fun? That would be great fun.
Would upset him. So yeah.
But I mean, there's a huge amount of strikers are being linked to us. Samu, Jackson, Muniz, Tony, Mitrovic by Michael, which was a great shout. We could get him anyway. What are your feelings about what's going to happen? This, Joanne, what we're doing with Izak?
Well, the owners have came out and said he's going nowhere, isn't it? Haven't they? So if we're going to believe that that's been said, and rightly so, we can't let him have this power that he's almost demanding and being a typical footballer, a modern day footballer, because there's a lot of them out there where we've given them too much power. So it's almost like it's human nature, isn't it? If you literally say to a person or big a person up enough, they are going to get that kind of big ego. And again, like I say, there's too many players with too much power. If we can stop him from leaving, which I think is absolutely right, by the way, he's contracted, like you say, he's got 3 years left. Why should we let him go? I think that's the frustration of all Newcastle fans now. Why should we give him what he wants to just absolutely scupper us, regardless of whether we get someone else in? So if we do sign Visser, sign God knows who else. But no, I can't see Izak going anywhere. When he'll play for us again, that's the $1 million question, I'll be honest, because he's not training with us, and he's already said he won't be training with us before Villa, which means he'll not play then. He'll so not play against Liverpool. Dear God forbid he play against them. But that there lies the problem. How long does this roll on to? Because eventually it does start to hurt us as a team. We do need him, unfortunately, if we've got no backup or any replacement. And I see us getting a replacement for Wilson, and I just don't see us getting a replacement for him in before the end of the window. I'd love him to. I'd love it too, because I want him to go at this point. I think a lot of Newcastle fans feel that way. I think it's going to be a very strange kind of atmosphere and feeling the first time he does play for us, just due to the way it's gone down. It's been a mess, hasn't it? Like a monumental mess. Let's get real.
Michael, any alternate view, or what are you thinking of the Izak situation? Are we hanging on to him?
No, I pretty much agree. I think I've said since day one, I think he stays. I generally don't think Liverpool were never going to offer 150. We were never going to sway from that. If anything, we were probably, when the owners got involved, we were probably going to push that up to, I was starting to see 180 at some point, and I was sitting there thinking, oh, you cheeky owner. But yeah, it's one of those where I don't think he leaves. I don't think he features for us in August, which means he misses Villa, Liverpool, and Leeds. Then we have the international break. Very much depends on if he goes to play with Sweden. I would hazard a guess that maybe he won't, and he'll be told that he has to stay. Then maybe be integrated, not for Wolves. I think he'll come off the bench for Wolves and then start for us in our first Champions League game on Tuesday, 16th of September.
Ian, I tell you what, this was prime for a bet,
Can you hear all
what
that?
Michael's just said there. Like, honestly, I'm like primed to put a bet on based on exactly what you've said, because if that comes off, I'll be like, he's psychic.
No.
He knows what's happening. That's so specific. Like, he's gonna. I like that though.
What minute is he going to score in, Michael, on that first Champions League game?
So I think you'll start, and then it depends on who we play. We could play Real Madrid.
True,
in which case you'll score in the 4th minute, or we could play Young Boys, at which point he won't score at all because they're just much better than us. No, I think it's one of those where he's gonna do well. He's gonna come on, but I don't think even if we sign you on Wissa, we can sit there and go right. Liverpool we don't need Izak. Leeds is probably the game where you want to break a team down. He'd be happy. Same with Wolves. You'd want Izak for them, but Wissa's more than good enough. And if he's still keeping that hissy fit up before the first Champions League game, he hasn't grown up, then I think it'll probably take 2 additional weeks, which will be the Arsenal game. I do think as soon as the window closes, because it's a World Cup year as well, he is going to sit there and go, you know what, fine, I haven't got my way. I'll find a way to move next year. Which is fine. That's what I originally predicted that he would do, leave next year. So I'm happy with that. I've come to terms with that, which is all that matters, really. But so yeah, I think he'll play the Champions League game, but if he doesn't grow up in time, he'll be back for Arsenal.
So we all think that he's back. We're not selling him. All of this stuff that everyone's talking about. The fact that Nicholas Jackson's reported in the BBC website this morning as preferring a move to Newcastle above everyone else, we don't have to worry about that then.
No.
Is there still a scope in the loan market, in the budget market, for us to bring a second striker in and not have the pressure to integrate him and just let him stew for a little bit? I know what I'm trying to get you to tell me about, Michael, again, because I love hearing about it, is a certain Newcastle supporting striker who hasn't even got a contract at the moment. Tell Joanne. Ooh, it's exciting.
Yeah, so Alexander Mitrovic, with the transfer of Darwin Núñez to Al Hilal, basically hasn't been registered. Al Hilal need to get rid of 3 EU players. They've got, I think it's 10, and they can only register 7. It might be 11 and 8. I'm not sure. It's basically non-Saudi players. So Mitrovic going to be available at a cut price. Leeds and Sunderland have both been heavily linked. Neither can afford the wage. It's looking like he's going to ask for about 130, 140. So, we could afford that. 20 million. Our Saudi overlords could, throw us a little penny here and there. Even kings love charity. So, maybe, just maybe, Alexander Mitrovic comes in. I do think it would be Wissa or Mitrovic. But I'd certainly be excited with either.
I'd be doubly excited with both, I'll be honest.
Oh, yes.
And I didn't agree with the way Rafa froze Mitra out, because even when he did get some games for Rafa, he kept scoring, didn't he? And he kept getting sent off as well. I know, but he was a young hothead at the time.
He just punched people.
Right. Well, so that's interesting. A long list of very exciting midfield players to replace Longstaff. A number of other alternatives maybe in the loan market to come in and give us a bit of depth for the Champions League matches. And we don't sell Izak. We just hang on to him and torture the poor man until he completely crawls over broken glass, begging to come back.
Hashtag 3 Izak.
Oh my God, Michael, what's going on with you?
What happened there? He's just showing off now.
So, for those watching the video, we don't know the full capabilities of Zencastr just yet. So every time I try things just happen.
Michael, though, how does it happen for you and it doesn't happen for us? Do it, Iain.
Michael, I think
you should. King, baby.
I think you should try one more, and then I'll just run the outro. Michael, do us another one.
Do that. Try a thumbs down. See what happens.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
it's raining on his head. That's brilliant.
There we go. Michael farts out of his head.
I'm far too excited about these things, mate.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Join Zencastr.